Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to start with this. Last week's performance on the defensive side of the ball, myself, clearly we failed to meet the mark in terms of anything that could be considered an acceptable performance. And that starts with me. We've identified, looked at, scrutinized, gone through every aspect of our process, our preparation, tactically, strategically, some of the core values and beliefs that we have. And I expect us to respond, to follow through, and to put forth the type of performance that will lead to us giving ourselves a chance to win a football game and to actually win it. This team that we're competing against, we were on the field with them just a couple of weeks ago. What they've been able to do offensively, where their strengths are noted, and we have to address those, starting with making sure that we make this team one-dimensional. The quarterback is having a great season. They have explosive ability outside on the perimeter. They run the ball efficiently. They get in and out of various personnel groups. And so we have to make sure that we have the call ready and that we have our cleats in the dirt with great communication, a clear understanding of how to execute our concepts, and we give ourselves the best chance. With that, I'll take your questions.
Eric, why do you think that was the case against the 49ers where it just wasn't up to par?
Yeah, I'm not going to put forth any theories or anything that sounds like an excuse. We fell short, and that can't be. Not in a situation we have to go out and do what we have to do on our side to support the cause of winning a football game. The players in that locker room have a lot of pride. They invest a lot, as do I and the rest of our coaching staff. And so we got to move forward and clearly come out ready to play and give ourselves a better chance.
Players, defensive players last Sunday keep mentioning execution, and you can tell it's frustrating them that it's week 14 and they're saying the same thing. How does that land with you?
It's disappointing because we have to control the controllables to give ourselves a chance to actually win a football game. We have to go from one call, one situation to the next and do our jobs, and that all starts with me. And if there's a disconnect, I have to make sure that I identify that and I do everything in my power and within my responsibilities to rectify that. But we have to make sure that we execute. We have no chance of being competitive, of winning, of creating explosive plays if we don't do that.
Why were there so many open receivers? Were those just breakdowns or just X's and O's, or that seemed to be a theme of that, just like you say, disappointing performance? So many open receivers.
Well, we have to be better, and everything starts with rushing coverage. Anytime we're in a situation where we're facing a passing concept, it all starts with our ability to affect the quarterback. And anytime the quarterback is able to stand back there, then receivers are going to break open, whether you're in a zone or man concept. So it starts with rushing coverage. We have to do a better job with that.
Specifically with the red zone, like going into that game, you guys were number one in the league in that area. Why weren't you guys able to keep that going last week against it?
We have to execute. We have to do better in every aspect. We have to do better. We have to, and it starts with me. We have to make sure that there are no disconnects, no breakdowns. There's no trepidation. There's nothing that's gray. We have to make sure that our process is right, our assignments are correct, and I have to make sure that everyone understands exactly what to do in any situation, including the red zone.
What were your takeaways from it? Is just playing more physical?
Our physicality wasn't an issue as far as I was able to see and review after the game. First couple of plays in the run game, we were as physical. Javon Dexter, Tyreek. At the point of attack, it was outstanding. That part I have no issue with. So that wasn't something that I looked at and said, man, we were physical. There were other things, other issues that came up, and we have to make sure we clear those up.
What were your takeaways from the first meeting with Minnesota as far as paying the proper amount of attention to Jefferson while also understanding how many other weapons they have that they can beat you with?
Sure. He's an explosive player, but they have a balanced offense. They have other players that can really hurt you, the tight end position, the complementary receivers. And so clearly he's a person that can take the roof off, that can blow the top off the coverage, that can work in the underneath area. But at the same time, you can't sell out everything that you're doing to try and affect one player and then compromise what you have to do to actually get off the field and win a football game.
Eric, this was a legitimate top 5 defense for the first 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks of the season. Yards, points, red zone, every way you want to look at it. Now they're definitely not. What is that? What's going wrong? Everything seemed to be upturned after that Hail Mary. It just seems from that game on, no matter how hard they try, they just can't be. They're just not as good as they were. What's happened in your opinion?
Yeah, that's evaluating the season and evaluating everything is not where I am right now. I have Minnesota to focus on and to prepare for. There'll be a time and a place for all of that. All I know is we have the Minnesota Vikings, a division game on Monday Night Football in their home, and we got to get ready to go.
Going off Dan's question, what have you seen from Jordan Addison that has allowed him to kind of have the breakout that he's had the last several weeks?
He's almost a clone of Jefferson. Great speed, possession receiver, understands the open areas and specific coverage concepts, zones and man principles, how to get himself, how to create separation. So very similar skill set to Jefferson, and he's become a reliable target for Sam Darnold.
Eric, when you take such a micro look at it, I accept that. And when you take such a micro, can that be part of the problem? Is that you're not taking a bigger picture look and say, hey, what's going on here? And just when you're kind of tunnel vision week to week, do you think that's part of the problem too, and trying to fix things that are going wrong?
No, I'm comfortable with what we have to do and what we're doing in terms of assessing what we're doing and also making sure that we stay on track with addressing the opponent week in and week out.
Eric, with Hawkinson, what are some of the things you guys can do in practice to help prepare for some of the things that he does? You know, I know you talked about, Thomas, about communication. Has that been a big emphasis this week when it comes to him trying to find spots in the zone?
Without question, very good receiver, good speed, good possession. We have to make sure we know where he is. They will move him around pre-snap. They'll slide him back and forth across the formation, and so we have to definitely make sure that the assignments, the people who are assigned to him, are aware of that, and we execute within our concept.
Eric, I know some of this can be like like circumstance, injury related, but like from weeks 1 through 6, like the numbers for like being in nickel, like 87% for this team, that's dropped from like week 8 onwards, about 20%. Is that due to injury? Is it due to opponent? Is there kind of any sort of rhyme or reason for like why some of the defensive personnel groupings have changed?
Yeah, we go in every week. We try and determine which personnel packages we believe will give us the best chance in the situations that we assign them to. The change in the numbers aside, I mean that's kind of how we get to exactly who we have on the field and what we believe fits for that particular situation.
Aaron Jones went over 100 yards in that first meeting and the big 40-yard plus run. What kind of challenges does he present to your defense?
Well, obviously he can hit a home run, and we have to make sure that our crack and replace principles, all the things that we have to do in terms of setting and establishing our edges and our gap control responsibilities are intact. We have to make sure we keep a tight net around him because clearly he has the speed to go the distance, and they target him. He's a targeted guy as far as the screens are concerned.
How do you feel that you guys have done with setting edges? I know Garendo also had a big 30-plus yard run getting to the edge. What needs to be done in that specific?
Very inconsistent. I mean, when we're on. It's outstanding. What we need to make sure that we do is make sure that we have great consistency with things that are really that are us at our best.
For you, how do you not think about, what could be down the line, what could not be, and just stay focused on each week?
That's the job detail. That's the job, that's the role that I have, that's the responsibility that I have, is not to focus on anything that's not the Minnesota Vikings and making sure that our defense is ready to go.
Eric, when you good practices and good effort, you don't fault the effort, you don't fault the preparation, the motivation is good, the team's together, and you give up 38 points. Are you mystified as to why? Is that a red flag to you? Are you concerned about that everything else is good except what happens on Sunday?
Yeah, disappointed, like I mentioned in the outset, but just very determined. I'm going to chalk that up as an anomaly as far as the character of our guys and the way that we perform. And we're going to bounce back, and we're going to perform the way we're capable of.
Great, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So obviously last week we didn't start as fast as we would like. That's 2 weeks in a row that we didn't quite start as fast as we liked. So those things are trying to be addressed and trying to get better at the overall, just communication and all the things that we're trying to get done as an offense. and as a team in general. Those things have been a huge focus for us. So we're going to continue to try to build on what we have so far. There's been a lot of positives. We just got to make sure that we continue to make more positives than negatives and figure out a way to score one more point than they do. So that said, open for questions.
Felix obviously got this interception last week. Is he have the right amount of aggressiveness when he is throwing downfield? Could this be a byproduct of maybe not being aggressive?
I don't think so. I do think there's calculated shots that we need to take. But at the same time, I think he's done a nice job of being present and trying to make sure that we do take care of the football. I think that's been a focus all season. And really, for the most part, we've done a great job all season long on that. So I don't think it's a lack of aggressiveness as much as, he's got to be calculated when he wants to do those things and then understand, there are times to do it. Hey, if we're one-on-one, we need to take some shots.
What stands
As
out?
coaches, do you want him thinking, don't throw me intercepted, or do you just want that not to?
No, we never talk about that. That never comes up. It's all about being calculated and, hey, we see a certain matchup that we like. Let's try to take advantage of it. There's some things that we want to try to do a little bit more of, and then there's some things that we might be missing because we're seeing them for the first time, or in a game or full speed. So those things we're trying to get better at.
With where the Caleb is built with Rome.
What stands out?
Two.
They're just two young guys that are obviously, getting to know each other. I think Rome is so friendly, quarterback friendly, and then, Caleb's done a great job. And those guys, they came in knowing each other from the league they were playing in, and they've got a great rapport with each other. And you could tell that, you could see their relationship budding, throughout the season, and that's something that's going to be exciting for Bears fans for a long time, I think.
With the slow starts, sometimes you save some really good plays that you like for key moments in the game. Without asking you what those plays might be, you break those out earlier in a game to try to move the sticks to get some momentum early.
Yeah, I think I'll go backwards on that question. As far as I think we've done a really nice job of making adjustments as the games went along. I think that's kind of showed out. At the same time, we need to start faster and maybe be a little more aggressive at the beginning of the game. I don't think it's a matter of holding things back as much as it is trying to let the quarterback get into a rhythm. And sometimes you don't have a chance to get into a rhythm. We need to make sure that we play aggressively from the start. And, I think those things will change a little bit here moving forward, but not too much. I think at the end of the day, it's about execution, us calling the right plays and putting the right people in position to make those plays. And if we do that, then hopefully those things will take care of themselves.
First touchdown catch you had from the receiver's coach's lens. What did you zero in on that really caught your eye in that whole sequence from the route to the catch to the finish?
Yeah, so one, thought it was a great release. He wins at the line of scrimmage, then he's used speed to be able to create some separation. It was a great throw there by Caleb. But if everybody remembers back during training camp where he stepped out of bounds at the end, we talked a ton about having awareness in the back of the end zone. That's something that we work on quite a bit as far as, whether it's on the sideline or the back of the end zone, is having awareness to get our feet in bounds and the foot drag. And those things both showed up in that situation. Rome is special, in the fact that he's a special player, but he's also special as a person. Everything that you coach, he takes in. He takes notes. Like if you ever saw his notebook, it looks like a college kid that's in a, whatever kind of business class or something like that. He takes notes on everything. And so as a receiver coach, like you just asked, you respect that because he wants to learn from everybody, whether it's Keenan talking, DJ talking, I'm talking, whoever it is, Thomas in the front, he's taking notes on everything.
When a receiver is quarterback friendly, how does that differ from like just being good?
There's an attention to detail in being friendly to the quarterback, and being able to understand angles and leverage. Those things, like a lot of times you just run routes and that stuff shows up, and you're really good, and that's part of it. And he's really good. So I don't want to sit back and say, "Oh, I coached him and made him really good." Jamarcus did a great job with him in college. Um, but I think a lot of times all these receivers, they have a knack of being able to be friendly to the quarterback by understanding, how do I post a guy up? How do I create an angle or leverage to make myself open when a normal receiver might not be able to do that?
Is that unusual for a rookie at the NFL level? I mean, are those tougher things?
Yeah, I have not dealt with many that are as advanced as he is. So I think that's a hard thing, and listen to Keenan talk about it and listening to DJ talk about, because I remember DJ's struggles firsthand. He would call and be like, "Yo, this is harder than I thought," and when I was, from coaching him in college. So he's advanced in those things for sure.
Was he not as quarterback friendly early as Rome is now?
Who, DJ?
Yeah.
No, he was not. He was not. I don't think, Keenan would tell you the same thing, and I think DJ would too. Rome is advanced as a route runner. There's a lot of room for growth, but he has a knack for being able to, move his body and get himself to where he's friendly for the quarterback.
Chris, with DeAndre and the groin, I know he's had a groin injury before. Is this a similar situation to last week, just kind of letting him rest through the week and then letting him test it maybe tomorrow, or is this maybe a more severe injury that could limit him or keep him out?
Right now, I think he'll be out there tomorrow. I think it's one of those things where we're just trying to be prudent with it, and also be able to be prepared for whatever the game, however it presents itself. I think he'll be, able to do what he does, but, we're also prepared whatever way that may go.
Chris, when reviewing the game against the 49ers, how did you feel the overall communication was between you, Caleb, and also Thomas?
I felt like it was fine. There's some things. Obviously, the first time you're doing anything from that, lens, it's a little bit different, and there's always things you want to do better and clean up with those communications, but nothing to where you said, okay, that inhibited us from being as successful as we could be. I think at the end of the day, Thomas and I have been talking, throughout the season, as far as, so that communication I think has always been smooth. And then Caleb as well, I probably talked to him a little more than I did in the other role that I had, but not a ton, because he's got a lot of people in his ear. I don't want to overload that any more than I have to. There's obviously points that I want to make, or, I want him to see them, from our lens or whatever that may be. But at the same time, I think the communication was fine. Like I said, there are things we're going to try to clean up, but for the most part, I thought it was fine.
Were you on the field or were you in the box?
I was in the box. I was on the field. I'm sorry.
Both this year and last year, what do you attribute Keenan's production against this specific defense to?
Yeah. I think, Keenan is so, I said it last week, but he sees things, and this defense is so complicated with all the different looks that they give you and the different, ways they drop guys in and drop guys out. And Keenan just has a knack for being able to see those things before they happen. Like, a lot of receivers see them as they happen. He can sit back and tell you what's happening before it happens. And so I think he's always generally a step or half a step faster than everybody else, which against a defense like this, as good as they are, and the vets that they have, you need every little advantage you can get.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead, fire away.
What are your overall thoughts on this whole condition and what they will do to challenge you?
Yeah, overall thoughts is I think Coach Daniels does a phenomenal job getting those guys prepared and ready to play. We know it's going to be a heavyweight fight, not only on special teams but in all three phases. So they run to the ball. They're fast. They're physical. They create challenges, and our guys are excited as hell to play against them. It's our type of matchup and our type of fight. We usually have a good fight every time we play, so we're excited to play against them.
Richard, I know how much DeAndre means to you personally, and just like how much his story specifically, but to see him go out there last week to go down, and now knowing what you're going to have to do to compensate for that role, like, how big of a loss is that?
Yeah, it definitely appreciate you saying that, Courtney. He is a phenomenal person and a phenomenal player, and I'm not going to understate the value of him. He would be sorely missed. but just because of his character and then the production that he provided for us. I think somebody gave me a stat, and he was second in the NFL in kickoff return average or something like that, and doing well in punt return. But he wants us to carry forward, and he wants us to have the next man up mentality, which is what we have. And he's been in the meetings, talking to all the guys about, um, you know, having that opportunity and going out there and taking advantage of every opportunity. And he hasn't changed one bit. I mean, he's in the meeting just like he's playing, and he's helping everybody else. So, and he's at practice the same way. So, he will be missed, and we're gonna have to do a good job of stepping it up, blocking for the guys that'll be back there, and we have to do a great job having 100% ball security.
Thinking of the guys that'll be back there, is it just gonna be Josh primarily, or are you thinking, or is there anybody else even in consideration right now?
Yeah, well, we finished the game with Josh back there. I thought he did a really nice job. On the one return he had, the 14-yard return, he did a good job on that one. We talked to him about not giving him as much grace on the one he caught at the 6 or 5 yard line. I mean, I probably could have let that one bounce. And you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You let it bounce and they down it at the one, you say, well, damn, you should have caught it. And then if he doesn't catch it, if he does catch it, then you say, well, why did he back up? So, but Josh will be in the mix. And then the other guys that you see back there all the time, right? So you always see Tyreek back there taking reps. You see Rome back there taking reps pregame and in practice. You see DJ back there taking reps. So all those guys will be in the mix. But the way we finished the game was with Blackwell because we thought it was the smartest decision at the time.
What stood out about Tory's afternoon?
Yeah, appreciate the question, Kevin, because he did a phenomenal job in the football game, and Tory probably won't be talked about because we didn't win the game. But again, I remember standing up here talking about the game that he had at Washington being better than the LA Ram game, in which he won Special Teams Player of the Week. I feel like the way he punted last week in San Francisco was better than the Washington game, which would in turn obviously be better than the LA Ram game. He's growing. He's doing a phenomenal job, and he is not satisfied. He is hungry, and he wants to do more. What I'm encouraging our guys to do is play at the level that they played last week, because on special teams they played really well and really respectable. I mean, obviously, Coach Brown said that already. But in reference to Tory, I'm looking for him to play that way, the rest of the unit to play that way, and now make one or two, three, game-changing plays to help us turn the game. So that's my challenge to the guys this week.
Specifically inside of last week's game, what did you like about Tory's performance that made you put it as high as you did?
Well, I mean, just the way he kicked the ball in the situations in the areas of the field that he was in. I mean, he had a backed up punt. He had a punt from the, around the plus 50 area that resulted in a T. Moore calls a penalty on that one that resulted at the 6 yard line. So that's, he had 2 or 3 punting pins. He had a couple 60-yard balls. He had a damn near 50-yard basically a 50-yard net. Anytime you got a 50-yard net, that's top 5 in the National Football League. Maybe in some years top 3. So again, it's a one-game sample, and he's been playing well the last 3 weeks, but we need to keep him going that way. And every game is its own entity. So it doesn't matter what we did last week. It doesn't matter what we did any weeks before. It's all about the Vikings and focusing on this rematch. And it'll be a heavyweight fight. Like I said, we got a lot of respect for their unit, and I know they have a lot of respect for ours. Just talking to Coach Daniels, so it'll be a good fight.
Like Tory has such a big leg, what is the challenge that creates for your gunners? And obviously need to get more cover and just be in a position to make a play because how quickly.
Yeah, it's 2 things that go with that. So you look at hang the distance ratios. So you want the ball to hang up there with enough time and be enough distance for the gunners or the interior to get down there. So you don't want to have those things too far out of proportion. I thought that he did a phenomenal job last week with his hang the distance ratios and his locations in which he placed the ball. So again, he's growing right before our very eyes, and we got to make sure we do a really good job of protecting him this week. Vikings do a really good job on punt rush, bringing some exotics, and they do a nice job with that. And we got to make sure we firm up in there because they're going to challenge us. We know that. They've always done that, and we've always done that to them as well. So we got to be great in punt protection, and we got to be great in field goal protection because those are two areas that they're really strong at.
Richard, did you show the team what happened in the Cincinnati-Dallas game? Is that what's kind of the teaching point as you're kind of showing them something that happened in a game like that?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. Did you talk to somebody about that? Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I did show it to him. I showed it to him yesterday. And I showed it to him, and I went through it with him, and I showed him the offensive play that happened after it, and then we also practiced that during our situational period just to refresh ourselves. It's two things that could happen. I mean, it was a hell of a play by Bones and his crew in Dallas because they blocked that punt, and it was a couple things on that play to where if a ball is blocked and is behind the line of scrimmage, then you want to teach to scoop and score that one. But you also have to tackle if they pick it up because they can advance it for a first down. If you block it and it's beyond the line of scrimmage, that's the one where you always hear the poison or Peter calls to get away from it because if you touch it, it becomes a live ball. And the one that's hairy is if you don't know if it went across or not. You know, that's the one that's tough. But, yeah, we showed it to him. We went through it in detail, and then we walked through it out there at practice, both situations and scenarios. Because ironically, it happened on Monday night last week, and we're playing on Monday night this week. So it just was a perfect tie to. And we show them all kind of around the league plays, but we did specifically show them that one, and we'll show them more throughout the week because we just want them to be educated so that they can go out and put their best foot forward.
Question, the onside kick is being talked about again this week as people are getting together and kind of figure out where they're going to head.
Sure.
Kickoff rules. If you were commissioner for a day, what would be your input, and what would you like to see happen to kind of get some resolution to?
The one thing I am not is commissioner for a day.
I just made you.
All right, no, I am not. I appreciate the commissioner having me involved with some of this stuff, but I will never want his job. But obviously, we changed the going from being able to run to static right in 18, and Troy talked about it being a play that we want to try to look at. And obviously the percentages went down when we went from running to being static and not being able to move. I think we want to look at a lot of that this offseason and try to find out ways in which we can increase, the recovery rate. So that'll something, it was talked about last time we met at the owners' meetings, but really the main focus was getting the kickoff rule off the table. So I think we'll look at that again. And speaking to the kickoff, I mean his kickoff it's been a really good deal for the league. I mean, it's already 6 touchdowns. There were only 4 last year. There's double the return for plus 40-yard returns. It's a play now, and it's an exciting play now. So we'll try to do something similar to that with the onside kick. And again, if an onside kick comes up again, we got to be ready for it because Minnesota, they've got a good team and they've defended the most onside kicks, and we just happen to have the one against them last week, but they've done a really good job defending onside kicks. So if that comes up again, we know we can't go to the one we had last time, so we have to do another one.
Robbie was hired at St. Viator. Do you know of any kickers or head coaches at any level? It just seems unusual.
I don't know. Congratulations to him. He'll do a hell of a job. I mean, he is as detailed as a person I ever been around. I don't know of any other specialists. I know some that coach, like Shane Graham, who I had before. He was at Florida at one time coaching guys. But at a head coaching, nah, I don't think so. Not that I can recall, but I know he'll do a great job at it because he works his tail off and he really cares. So I'm wishing him the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.